friends, let us try to understand today what is the relationship of human society and the life pattern at large on this globe with the basic elements of nature, and particularly the element of water among these five elements. Water is a moving element. It is a dynamic element. It doesn't stay at one place. In contrast with the element of land, for example. Land stays at one place. Even what we call as Akash. Akash relatively is a stable element, like land. But water is not. Water moves through these five elements, and from the environmental point of view, the relationship of water with the other elements is also therefore very critical and crucial for our understanding of environment at large and for the management strategies that we have to think of. The other interesting part is that on the globe, while Akash, the space, may have the same properties elsewhere, water is not in the same condition on the North Pole or at the equator or in the Sahara Desert. So the relationship of the life pattern with water is different in the different parts of the world. And in our geographic area, wherever we are living, we must understand the exact nature of this relationship, and we cannot borrow ideas. For example, the way a Japanese deals with the water and the way an Indian from Rajasthan should deal with water, they are bound to differ. Understanding this difference is the core of understanding the environmental science. Water does not differ in its existence from place to place, but also at the same place during the different periods of the year. In the rainfall period, in monsoon, we have plenty of water. We have heavy rainfall days when we do not want that much of water. But there are other extremes in the summer days when we crave for water, when extreme heat, extreme dryness makes us aware about the need for additional or supplemental water to be made available to us on those days. So this changing relationship during the year itself is a problem for the monsoonic countries like India. The picture is not the same in north of Alps, for example, in northern Europe, which are blessed with perennial rainfall. Therefore, their understanding about environment, about the role of water in society, in the life pattern, is quite different from our understanding of the role of the trees, the pattern of the trees, the pattern of the crops, and therefore the dependent pattern of the society is bound to be quite different from the pattern in the temperate zones. So, environment in the temperate zone, environment in the ice-covered areas, and environment in the desert areas, they are quite different patterns of environment. And in this difference, the main critical factor is the presence or absence of water. The other difficult part of ecology is that there are extremes in the environment, and environment is not in the stable, balanced form year after year. We have some years of excessive rainfall or some years of successive drought years, and that upsets or uproots not all patterns of life. The trees, they dry up, the crops dry up, the human society has to migrate if not affected. So living with the extremes is one pattern of life. Living with the normal pattern of environment, the normal availability of water, the normal seasons is another pattern of life. The environmental management at large comprises of these two systems woven together. The way we live under the extremes and the way we live under the normal conditions, they together make our combined life pattern for the human being as well as for the other nature's endowment like the forests. The forests also dry up. They shed their leaves when there is extreme dry cold, that is what we call as the Shishira Rutu, to cope with the change in the nature of moisture around them. So coping with the nature, trying to be in harmony with the nature is the art of living. And the study of environment as a science should take us closer to this art of living to make our life pattern happier, better, more livable, so to say. But human society has got the capability of overcoming the deficiencies in nature and trying to improve upon the natural conditions, at least to some extent, as we have successfully done in the desert areas of Rajasthan, for example, where we have excavated a canal and brought the waters of right from Satluj river to the deserts of Rajasthan, and in that area now we have beautiful plantations, very prosperous agriculture and very prosperous society. So we are in a position to overcome the deficiencies or the handicaps that are given to us by nature, and that is human ingenuity. But at the other end, sometimes we cross our limits, as has happened in the case of our capabilities in chemical engineering. We are able to produce new substances, new toxic substances, very deadly substances. They are useful in other ways, but when they are not properly harnessed or properly disposed of, and they get mixed up either with the air or with the water, then the life that is dependent on that air, the life that is dependent on that water gets substantially harmed. And we can witness it in the different streets of Delhi, for example. In the crowded junctions of Delhi, in spite of very good tree growth around, you see the leaves of those trees not in a good form compared to what they are where the traffic is not that congested and where there is free flow of air available for the same types of trees. This is much worse when it comes to water, because ultimately trees also live by drawing water, and if that water itself is polluted, then across the polluted streams you get a very different picture of the same variety of the trees. In Delhi, Yamuna is so much polluted that today it is more a drain rather than a river. Human society should be able to contain this excessive pollution by two types of measures: collective measures as well as by improving our personal habits. Let us take our personal habits to begin with. While walking across the road, along the road, we throw away things in a careless manner. Ultimately, where do they go in the end? Even when collectively we dump it together, if finally it is not disposed of in a proper manner, when the rains come, the rains will try to wash them out, and the water has the bad habit of assimilating everything that comes on its way. It does not distinguish between good things and bad things. Even the poisonous things, it tries to assimilate it. It dissolves everything in it. And those dissolved pollutants then later become a problem. Not only in the river, later on in the accumulated form in the lakes, ultimately in the sea, and also in the groundwater. And it is very, very difficult to clean up the groundwater. So we have to devise ways and means in our life pattern by which these dreadful elements which are harmful to the human life, to the cattle life, to fishes, to trees, do not reach water at all, and they are disposed of in a safe manner before they get assimilated in water. Now these habits in our family, these new ways of dealing with the waste in our family, in our colonies, in the cities, planned by the municipal corporations, they will be able to lead us to a much better pattern of life. And our study of environment as a science and the role of water in ecology, in environment at large, should finally lead us, make us more capable, more confident in handling our living pattern, our life pattern, our social pattern in a more comfortable manner. Along with our habits and social systems, we have also to change our attitudes to water. Depending on our attitude, our habits are also bound to change. Fortunately, in the Indian tradition, we have nurtured or promoted an attitude by which we do not look upon water only as a natural resource, but we look upon water as a pure element of nature. We call it tirtha, not only water. And the objective of our social practices has been to retain water, to maintain water in its purest form. That is why most of the religious centers have been associated with the lakes or with the rivers, and they are known as not religious centers, but Tirtha Kshetra, means a place where water and the surrounding environment is in the purest form. Now when we start to cultivate the attitudes for respecting nature in this pure form, then automatically our thinking process helps us develop the appropriate social systems. Unfortunately, for many years, we have forgotten this art of managing the elements in their pure form. And what is the result? In the modern times, let me tell you my personal experience when I was in Delhi. We have read about Yamuna and the life of Lord Krishna associated with it. But what is the form of Yamuna today in Delhi? In our Ganesh festivals, at the end of the festival, we try to say goodbye to Lord Ganesh by its immersion in the waters, either in the well or in the lake or in the river. When I was in Delhi, and because of the historical association of my mind with Yamuna, I thought let me go on the banks of Yamuna and do the immersion of the idol in the waters of Yamuna. When I took a boat and went into the stream of Yamuna, I was amazed to see the poisonous, polluted status of the waters of Yamuna. I was afraid to leave my idol and hand it over to those waters. Now that is the challenge for our modern society. We have to clean up our rivers, we have to clean up our lakes so that they get the same status as the Tirtha, which has been our cultural objective for the Indian society for ages in the past. We have to revive that attitude. In addition to the water's role in our social life, we have also the water's role in our economic development. And in the present Indian scenario, naturally we are emphasizing that role of water which gives us more economic leverage. And it is the renewable nature of water that gives us an additional advantage compared to other resources. Take the case of our mineral resources that we use for our energy production. Take the case of coal or petroleum. we obtain much of our energy today by burning coal at our thermal stations, and that they generate electricity. But electricity can also be generated by using water, as we have done at the Koyna project, at the Bhakra project, and number of such hydroelectric stations. Now the water in the Koyna project or in the Bhakra project is brought back to us by Lord Varuna every year without fail. It gives it back to us. Now that does not happen in the case of coal or petroleum. Developing coal below the earth crust or developing petroleum below the earth crust takes thousands of years. So they are not renewable forms of natural resources. So the renewable natural resources in the easy form are water, sun's energy, which is perpetual more or less, and wind. And as an Indian society or as a global human population, now our thrust is towards moving towards this renewable form of energy more and more compared to the exhaustible form of energy through the mineral resources. Wind energy, solar energy, they are now to be our much better friends than the energy from the coal or petroleum. And that is again where our environmental science, not only in the context of water, but in the context of the way wind blows, winds are available, not available, air is polluted, not polluted, will give us a better insight in providing a more stable, sustainable pattern of development. And in that context, water's role is not only for generating energy by itself. Water is also required for regulating or controlling the energy production at the coal thermal station, at the gas station, or even at the nuclear station. Because the amount of energy generated by the nuclear burning, nuclear fission, or by burning of coal is so large that to contain it, to regulate it, to keep it under control, you have to need the use of a cooling agent like water. And at the Chandrapur thermal station, for example, in Maharashtra, one of the major dams and the storage behind it is totally devoted to nothing else, not agriculture, not urban supply, but only for cooling the thermal station. All the year round, that is the only work that water is doing. So the renewable water from that reservoir is available every year, again and again. While the coal is getting exhausted from the coal mines there, that water is available year after year for doing the cooling for that thermal station. So this renewable role of water is going to be one of our best friends for a sustainable society. And we have to look at water and its role in the environment at large from the perspective of this renewable form. In addition, the polluted water can also be cleaned up. The modern technology makes it possible to remove the dirt, to remove the dissolved particles, to remove the bacteria from the water, and that water becomes clean water again. In fact, in our spacecraft, when the astronauts are living there, what is the water they are using day in and day after? The used water they are cleaning up again and again and reusing it again and again. That is how they stay there for months together with the same water available to them. So depending on the society's capability of reusing that water again and again, that recycling capability gives you more freedom, more flexibility in arranging your pattern of life, in arranging your productive capability, in arranging your industrial production. So with a limited quantity of water also, you are able to generate more agriculture, more industrial product by taking recourse to cleaning up of the water, recycling it, reusing it. So the capability to recycle and reuse is another index for a modern developed society, But moving in that direction will be possible with greater confidence when we understand the ecological processes and the way water moves through these ecological processes, how best to withdraw water for reuse again and again from these processes. That is what strengthens our capabilities for using the water in the best possible form. In short, in the environmental context, water management is not in the same form in the different parts of the world, at the same place in the different seasons of the year, and also depending on the advanced status of the society in the agricultural or in the industrial processes. The way water is to be handled will have many different facets in the different uses of water at different places. And this differentiation is made by the different environmental backgrounds at those different places, and mainly the amount of water present in the liquid form, in the vapor form, that will determine the way the trees will grow, the way the other life will respond to the environmental situation, and the way the human society will be able to harness the natural resources in its surroundings in the most profitable manner. So combining these different elements, the mineral elements, the air, the water, the sun's energy, the forest produce, the agricultural produce, and putting them together, weaving them together by using water as a common thread through all this, so that everybody stays there in a balanced way without encroaching its limits, and that weaving together the different life patterns around water is the art of managing the modern human society. Because water can give you agricultural produce, water can give you good forest, water can give you good fishery, water can give you good industrial production, but water can also move you towards heavier pollution doses if not controlled and managed properly, if the other elements are not protected from the harmful effects of pollution. So on the positive side as well as on the harmful side, the water needs lot of intervention, intelligent intervention from the human society, and the limits of these interventions we can learn by studying environment as a science. That should be the objective of your generation now, and that is why we are emphasizing the teaching of the subject of environment in our schools and the colleges.